Imagine staring down a ticket printer that just refuses to stop spitting out paper.
Oh, that dreaded
Yeah.
sound, just nonstop.
Right. The slip is trailing all the way down to the floor. You've got like 30 people staring at you from the other side of the counter.
And they're all severely undercaffeinated.
Exactly. Some are tapping their feet, staring at their phones. Your steam wand is running at 250 degrees. Your water is sitting under 9 bars of pressure. The grinder's just roaring. And while your margin for error is exactly 0. Welcome to today's deep dive.
Yeah, today we aren't talking about, abstract management theories. We are talking about surviving the 8.0 a.m. Tuesday rush.
Surviving it and actually controlling it. Because if you're listening to this, you are the ones on the front lines. You're our cafe managers, the shift supervisors, lead baristas, and of course the new trainees looking at that punter with a very reasonable sense of dread.
Totally reasonable. But we're here to help.
Right.
We're synthesizing the official La Marzocco GB5 barista guide and our unified barista and service guide to, build your operational armor.
Right. Our mission today is breaking down 3 core pillars. First, the technical prowess required for the GB5. Second, the elite sequencing you need to keep that line moving. And third, the psychology of delivering pristine guest hospitality when your own nervous system is, well, telling you to panic.
So let's start with your primary weapon in that environment, the hardware.
Yeah, okay, let's unpack this, because before we can even begin to talk about moving fast, we have to look at the La Marzocco GB5 sitting on your counter. The guide treats this machine with, a level of reverence usually reserved for laboratory equipment.
Oh, absolutely. It highlights things like temperature stability and saturated groups, and those aren't just marketing buzzwords. They are the physical mechanics keeping your drinks from completely falling apart at 8:15 a.m.
Because when you pull shot after shot in rapid succession on a normal machine, the water temperature inevitably drops, right?
Right. The boiler just can't keep up with the constant influx of cold water. And when water hits coffee grounds at too low a temperature, it physically fails to extract those sweet, complex oils.
You just end up serving a shot that tastes, overwhelmingly sour and thin.
Exactly. But the GB5 prevents this through those saturated groups. The brew head, where you lock in the portafilter, isn't just attached to the boiler. It is physically welded to it.
Wait, really? Welded to it?
Yeah, and it's constantly flooded with circulating hot water. So the metal of the group head itself stays at the exact same temperature as the brewing water.
Oh, wow. So whether it's the first shot of the morning or, the 200th shot during the peak rush, the thermal environment is identical.
Which brings us to the golden standards of extraction from the guide. Because the machine gives you this perfect, stable environment, the variables are now entirely in your hands.
Right, no blaming the machine.
Exactly. We are aiming for a highly specific window. You're looking to dose 18.5 to 20 grams of coffee into a double basket.
Okay, 18.5 to 20 grams.
Yep. And from that dry weight, your target yield is 36 to 40 grams of liquid espresso. And that physical extraction needs to happen in 26 to 30 seconds.
The guide is so obsessed with these parameters. I mean, it treats making espresso less like cooking and more like compounding a highly sensitive prescription.
Mm-hmm.
And it also mentions monitoring the pressure during that window.
Yes. The GB5 has a dual scale gauge. You really need to keep your eyes on the bottom half of that dial during extraction. It has to read exactly 9 bars of pressure.
While the top half is monitoring your steam boiler, right, which should sit around 1.5 bar.
You got it. But that 9 bars of brewing pressure, that is a tremendous amount of physical force hitting a very small puck of coffee.
So if your tamp is even a millimeter off level or your distribution is sloppy, that pressurized water basically acts like a drill bit.
Exactly. It's not going to gently permeate the grounds. It's going to find the weak spot, tear a hole right through the coffee puck, and just flood through.
Which is what we call channeling, right?
Right. The water bypasses the bulk of the coffee entirely. You get a shot where some grounds are wildly over-extracted, releasing harsh, bitter tannins, while the rest are untouched, leaving it sour.
That's why the physical mechanics are so rigid. You dry the portafilter completely so the grounds don't stick. You distribute evenly. Then you apply exactly 30 pounds of flat pressure to create that perfectly uniform puck.
Yep, 30 pounds. Every time.
But wait, let's talk about what happens immediately after that tamp. Say I'm on the floor, I've got my perfect 30-pound tamp, the puck is flawless, but a guest leans over the counter and asks me for the restroom code.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Right. I hold the portafilter for 10 seconds to answer them before locking it in. What really happens there?
Well, you've just ruined the shot before the water even turns on.
Wait, really? Just from 10 seconds?
Yes. The guide warns against this specifically. Remember that saturated group head we just praised?
The one flooded with boiling water.
Right. Because it's flooded, it acts like a searing hot iron.
Hmm.
If you lock the portafilter in and let it sit without immediately engaging the water, you are physically baking the dry coffee grounds.
Oh, yuck. So the delicate oils on the surface are just scorching against the hot metal.
Exactly. The taste is unmistakable. It's this ashy, burnt flavor that literally no amount of milk or syrup can hide. You must insert the portafilter and engage the water immediately. One fluid motion.
And when you do, the result looks like warm honey dropping from the spouts. The guide calls it a mouse tail. Viscous, continuous, and dark.
It's a beautiful sight. But the discipline detailed in the guide doesn't stop when the shot finishes. There is a deeply rigid hygiene protocol that has to happen after every single extraction.
The every shot protocol. You remove the portafilter and you immediately flush the group head for 1 full second. Then you wipe the steam wand with a dedicated damp cloth and purge it instantly.
Instantly, that's the key word.
Let's linger on this for a second, because I know when the line is out the door, wiping a wand feels like a step you can just skip to save 3 seconds. But the sensory reality of ignoring this is actually disgusting.
Really is.
If milk dries on that stainless steel wand, the heat instantly bakes it into a hard, calcified crust.
Yeah, it creates a physical barrier.
Yeah.
The steam holes get blocked, which means the next time you go to aerate milk, you can't create the necessary vortex. The milk just screams and bubbles violently.
It sounds awful on the floor.
It does. But worse than that, the porous crust of dried milk harbors bacteria. The next time you submerge that wand, you are introducing old, scorched milk proteins into a fresh pitcher.
Ugh. That completely compromises the flavor and the safety of the drink. And purging the group head is doing the exact same thing for the espresso oils, right?
Exactly. You are blasting away the residual grounds before they can bake onto the shower screen and turn rancid. It's also why the guide mandates taking a brush to the group gasket every single hour.
Because those rubber seals keep the portafilter locked in tight. If they get coated in crusty grounds, the seal breaks and you have boiling water spraying everywhere.
Which is a safety hazard and a mess. So, okay, we have this mathematically perfect 36-gram shot of espresso sitting in the cup. The machine is clean, parameters are met. But the physics of that shot are incredibly fragile.
The clock is ticking the absolute second it hits the cup.
Yes. Which means if your hands and your feet aren't moving in the exact right sequence on the floor, that perfect shot dies on the counter.
And this is where we move from the mechanics of the machine to the mechanics of the human being running it. Let's get into speed and sequencing logic.
Right. Because a high-performing barista doesn't just move fast, they move with intense intentionality. The beverage sequencing logic in the guide provides a strict 3-step rhythm. Step 1 is always your shaken and cold drinks.
Prep the cold bases and the cold cups first. Why? Because ice and cold liquids don't fundamentally degrade the way hot elements do.
Exactly. A prepped iced vanilla latte base can sit on the counter for 60 seconds while you manage the rest of the ticket, and the structural integrity of that cold milk is perfectly fine.
Okay, so step 2 is steaming your milk for the hot drinks. You have to steam your milk before you pull the shots.
Which brings us to step 3, pulling the espresso last. The espresso is the fragile heart of the beverage.
And the guide enforces what it calls the 10-second rule. A drawn shot of espresso must never sit for more than 10 seconds before it is incorporated into milk or water.
Never. And let's look at the chemistry of why. Crema, that beautiful golden layer on top of a fresh shot, is an emulsion of coffee oils, proteins, and CO2.
And it's highly unstable.
Extremely.
Right?
As it sits, the temperature drops rapidly. As the espresso cools, those delicate lipids physically separate from the water. The flavor oxidizes.
So what was a creamy, sweet liquid just seconds ago turns into, like, a harsh, metallic, bitter sludge.
Exactly. If you pull the shot first and then spend 40 seconds grabbing a new gallon of milk and steaming it, you are pouring beautiful microfoam over a rotting foundation.
But wait, hold on. Let me play devil's advocate here. If I'm a barista staring down a line of 20 tickets, my immediate instinct is to pull that shot while I'm pouring the cold bases or running to the fridge.
Right, multitap.
Yeah, like the machine can do the work while I'm doing something else. Why am I waiting until the absolute end of the sequence to pull the shot? That feels like I am purposely bottlenecking my own speed.
I know, it feels so counterintuitive when you're drowning in tickets.
Yeah.
But the entire sequencing logic is built on the reality that saving 3 seconds of physical movement is completely negated if the guest tastes the drink and realizes it's terrible.
So speed at the expense of the product isn't speed, it's just rushing.
Precisely. True speed on the bar comes from optimizing the equipment through proper multitasking, not from breaking the sequence.
And the guide outlines how to do this through deal pathing,
Yeah,
right?
yes. If you're running a GB5 in a high-volume setting, you have multiple group heads for a reason. You should be utilizing them simultaneously for different ticket items.
Okay, so one group head is dialed in for, say, small, delicate drinks like cortados, while the other is pulling shots for your large iced lattes.
Exactly. And you combine that with continuous milk rotation. While your current pitcher is rolling, getting that glossy microfoam, your other hand is grabbing the next cold pitcher.
It's this overlapping, continuous cycle where the espresso is always the final, triumphant puzzle piece.
Beautifully put. And there's a psychological component to this workflow that we have to enforce on the line. The guide calls it the clean-as-you-go standard.
Ah, yes, operating on a 15-minute cycle rule. If you can lean, you can clean.
It's one of the oldest hospitality mantras in existence. But in a coffee setting, it is vital. We discussed the micro-hygiene, purging the wand, flushing the group. This is about the macro-hygiene of the entire station.
Meaning, every 15 minutes, a barista must reset their physical environment, wiping up syrup spills, clearing empty milk jugs, organizing the tamp mats.
Right, think about the physical relief of stepping into a clean station. But more importantly, think about what it signals to the guest standing 3 feet away.
It signals profound competence. A guest's perception of taste is heavily influenced by their visual environment.
Exactly. If they see a barista moving frantically through a station covered in brown puddles and crusty rags.
Yeah, their confidence in that premium beverage drops instantly. But a pristine counter builds immense trust.
Which perfectly bridges us from the mechanics of the bar to the psychology of the human being standing in the room. You can have a flawlessly maintained GB5, you can be hitting your 36-gram yields, but the source material is adamant. All of that is totally meaningless if the final impression fails.
And this is the third pillar of our briefing, the guest experience. Because operations and hospitality are not two separate departments, they are the exact same thing.
The Unified Barista Guide outlines a baseline standard that is incredibly difficult to execute during a rush, but absolutely non-negotiable. The 30-second rule.
Meaning every single guest must be greeted within 30 seconds of walking through your doors.
Right. The psychological impact of being ignored is devastating to a customer's mood. When a person walks into a busy environment, their cortisol levels are already elevated.
If they stand there for a full minute while baristas aggressively avoid eye contact because they're stressed, that customer feels like a burden.
Exactly. And I know that feeling from behind the bar. Your feet ache, the grinder is so loud, you just dropped a bottle of vanilla syrup.
And a line of 10 people just walked in. The absolute last thing your brain wants to do is look up and make eye contact. It feels physically impossible to stop and chat.
But the guide doesn't ask you to stop your workflow. It asks you to acknowledge their humanity.
Just a simple, direct look with a warm smile and a quick, "Hi there, I'll be right with you in just a moment."
That completely shifts the dynamic in the room. You are buying yourself time. You instantly lower their blood pressure because you've taken them out of the ignored category.
You put them into the acknowledged queue, and once you do engage them at the register, the standard is to make a real connection. We aren't just order takers punching buttons.
No, the guide encourages the team to ask clarifying questions, like, what kind of coffee do you usually enjoy? You act as a sensory guide to the menu.
But let's get into the reality of the floor. Despite the perfect temperature stability of the GB5, mistakes are going to happen. A syrup pump gets miscounted, or maybe the guest genuinely just doesn't like the flavor profile we recommended.
And they come back to the counter, unhappy.
Right. This is the moment of truth for any cafe team. And the guide provides a highly structured framework for flawless service recovery called the LATTE method.
LATTE. It is designed to de-escalate frustration instantly.
Let's break down the psychology of each step. L stands for listen. This doesn't just mean hearing the words. It means giving them your full, undivided attention. Stop wiping the counter. Make eye contact.
Let them vent their frustration without interrupting.
Right. A stands for apologize. Not a defensive apology like, I'm sorry you feel that way, but a genuine ownership. I am so sorry that drink isn't tasting right for you.
Then T is take action. Do not ask them what they want you to do. Take control of the solution. Tell them you are remaking it immediately.
The second T is thank. Thank them for bringing it to your attention. This completely disarms a frustrated customer who expects a fight.
And E is encourage. Encourage them to come back and let you know if the new drink is perfectly to their liking.
It is a brilliant psychological tool because it removes all friction. When you respond with immediate validation and action, you completely diffuse that tension.
But I know there's an operational fear here.
Oh, absolutely. Let's talk about that reality. I am running the shift. It's 8:30 a.m. I have 15 tickets on the rail. My primary tasks are drink quality and speed. Remaking a drink for one picky customer means I have to halt my dual pathing sequence, break my workflow rhythm, and push 15 other paying customers back by 2 minutes.
Right. Doesn't that hurt the overall operation?
Yeah, exactly. Why stop everything?
Well, the doctrine in the source material is completely uncompromising here. You never, ever argue about a guest's taste preference. Your ultimate job is to deliver excellence to the person standing in front of you. If they are unhappy, that remake ticket jumps to the absolute front of the line.
Over everyone else who has been waiting.
Yes, because there's a profound truth in the guide that shifts how you look at the entire concept of hospitality. To quote it directly, when a mistake happens, own it instantly. The recovery is often more memorable than the error.
Wow. The recovery is more memorable than the error.
Think about the psychology of the consumer. If everything goes perfectly, that is a baseline transaction. They'll probably forget about it by noon. But if something goes wrong, they experience a spike of anxiety.
And if your team drops everything to look them in the eye, genuinely apologize, and hand them a pristine, perfectly crafted new beverage with a smile.
You haven't just replaced a liquid. You have validated their importance in a crowded, chaotic room. You've shown them that their personal experience matters more to you than the relentless speed of your ticket machine.
That is an incredible reframing of a stressful moment. It turns a bottleneck into an actual tool for connection.
It requires extreme empathy under pressure, which is exactly why it is the hardest pillar to master.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's synthesize exactly what we need you to take back to your cafes tomorrow morning.
First, respect the physical realities of the La Marzocco GB5. Master your extraction parameters, the 18.5 to 20 gram dose, the 36 to 40 gram yield, the 26 to 30 second sweet spot at 9 bars of pressure.
Do not bake your grounds.
And execute that micro-hygiene, purging the wand, flushing the group after every single shot.
Second, defend your sequencing logic. Cold drinks first, steamed milk second, espresso last. Protect the 10-second rule so the fragile emulsion of your espresso never dies in the cup. And maintain your macro hygiene. If you can lean, you can clean.
And finally, protect the guest's emotional experience at all costs. Execute the 30-second greeting rule to de-escalate tension and use the LATTE recovery method to turn mistakes into loyalty.
This has been an intense look into the realities of the floor, but I want to leave you, the leaders, the supervisors, the baristas, tying your aprons right now with a final thought to chew on during your next shift. We talked about how the cafe at 8 a.m. is a symphony of organized chaos.
And we just discussed how a flawless service recovery is often more memorable than the initial error.
Which raises a fascinating philosophical question about what we are actually serving. Could it be that in an increasingly mechanized world where people can order everything through an app without speaking to a human being, mastering the LATTE method actually builds fiercer customer loyalty than a perfectly efficient but totally robotic transaction?
It's a great question.
Think about the power you hold in that interaction. The next time a guest complains mid-rush, it isn't a frustrating delay in your sequence. It is a rare, high-stakes opportunity to prove to that person that they matter.
A perfectly executed recovery, delivered with genuine warmth, might just be the most important thing you serve all day.
To everyone listening, take these parameters, defend your sequence, look your guests in the eye, and go hit the floor with passion and precision. You are the conductors of that morning symphony. Have a great shift.